What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I just have a little video for you guys because, as most of you probably already know, we got some new iPhones yesterday. The new iPhone 17 Pros and the iPhone Air. And I figured it was a good time to give an update on my iPhone 15 Pro because I've had this unit for pretty much exactly 2 years now. And I'm going to hang on to it. It's been a fantastic phone, and I kind of just wanted to give an overall update of how it's been doing. So, like I mentioned, I bought this phone a day after launch back in 2023. I was really excited about it at the time because I had been historically upgrading every year since I got the iPhone 12 Pro back in 2020. I had my iPhone 8 for 3 years, and then I got the 12 Pro because of the blue color. And there was always something every year that drove me to upgrade. Like I mentioned with the 12 Pro, it was because the Pacific Blue color came out. My favorite color is blue, and that was important to me, so I got that one. Which that one wasn't entirely planned, but anyway. Then the next year we got 120 hertz on the 13 Pro, so naturally I had to upgrade for that because I'd been waiting for that for many years. And then I upgraded to the 14 Pro because of the camera improvements. We got a 48 megapixel main camera, and I do take a lot of photos with my phone, so that was important to me. And then the next year we got the 15 Pro, and really the biggest reason that I upgraded, as vain as it is because we have this nice blue titanium color, and that was one of the biggest reasons that drove me to upgrade. But I also liked the new titanium frame, and obviously camera improvements and everything else like that. And it was also a pretty good deal at the time because I traded in my 14 Pro and I got like half off on the phone. But either way, I was really excited about this phone when it came out, and it's been a very trusty companion for the past 2 years. I've had a lot of life changes and things happened since I bought it, and it's been very reliable and a good phone for me. So anyway, this is how it typically looks. I have a case on it. This is the case that I use. It is a Taurus shockproof magnetic. I don't think they make this case anymore, at least for the newer models, and definitely not in this blue color, although I bought this one on Amazon, I think, about a year ago. This is the second one I've had on the phone. This was the first one, and you can kind of see the first one did take some wear and tear. The TPU, or soft rubberized coating, was starting to peel off on the back, and if you notice the discoloration of the case, it started to degrade. And so for the 2-year anniversary of me owning this phone, I decided to put a new case on it. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to actually remove it so we can actually see the phone underneath. So here it is. It's still in great shape. I really don't have any damage to report on the outside of it. There's no nicks or anything in the frame. Of course, like I mentioned, this is titanium, and we'll talk about that some more in a bit. But don't really have any sustained huge damage on this phone. I've never dropped it outside of the case or anything like that. Now, the screen does have a couple of nicks and stuff in it. There are a couple nicks at the top, like a couple of these that don't come out because I have dropped it face down on pretty rough pavement before, which, whatever, it's not a big deal. But overall, the phone's in great shape yet, and I've been very happy with it. And of course, like I mentioned, I still love this blue titanium color, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So another reason I liked the new frame on this phone when it came out is because they actually started to round the corners a little bit, and it does make it more comfortable to hold. I use a case most of the time, but anyway, it's still a characteristic of the phone. And then also I like that they kind of made a brushed, softer finish on it rather than that glossy stainless steel that we had before. It's a little bit more resistant to fingerprints. I mean, you can kind of see it still does get a little smudgy here and there, but much better than it was. So there you have it. Physical condition of the phone is pretty great. And now I just recently upgraded it to iOS 26 that came out a couple of days ago. I had been beta testing this on my previous, or on my spare 14 Pro Max that I have. But this runs excellent on this phone, and it actually runs a little bit faster than iOS 18, which I was a little bit skeptical of, when I was going through the betas, because it was quite buggy for a while. But this phone is still plenty powerful. Of course, we're still running the Apple A17 Pro system on a chip, and this phone does have 8 gigabytes of RAM, which was an upgrade from the 14 Pro that only had 6 gigs, and it's has not really slowed down at all in my usage over the past couple of years. It still runs just as lightning fast as it did the day I took it out of the box. And like I mentioned, with iOS 26 and this new liquid glass UI here, it does kind of feel like a new phone at the same time. That and the new case kind of gave it a refresh that I really appreciated. But This phone is still very, very powerful. When this thing came out, I think it was rivaling the MacBook Pro Apple M series chips in terms of performance, so that's pretty cool. And it hasn't really struggled with anything I've thrown at it. Something I do want to mention, because it was a really big thing when this phone came out. People have been complaining that, this phone likes to overheat and run hot and stuff like that. And honestly, I really have not had many issues with that over the past couple of years. I thought that a lot of that was kind of overblown in a way. Now, yes, this phone does get hot if you push it. I've been in situations where, if you're playing games or doing something else that's intensive on the phone, yeah, of course the phone does get pretty warm. But that's been my experience with like every iPhone I've ever owned, so I haven't really considered that much of an issue. And the only time I've ever gotten the actual temperature warning where it says, iPhone needs to cool down, is I was outside actually in my backyard here, and I live in Arizona, so it's very hot. I was trying to record a video in my backyard, and after a couple minutes the phone did overheat, but it was like 108 degrees out that day. So I really don't consider that to be a normal use case. That's kind of an edge case, and like I mentioned, that's the only time I've ever gotten a temperature warning on this phone. Now, I have seen, of course, the screen brightness dim if it's at full brightness outside. After a while, yeah, the screen brightness does decrease, and I've also seen the frame rate drop here and there. Like I said, when I'm like in a hot car or in a very hot environment, yes, it does, tend to throttle, but pretty much all phones do that, and I haven't really had any like really bad issues with it to the point where I don't like the phone or it wasn't meeting my needs. So as far as the overheating stuff goes, I think that was a little overblown, but I just wanted to throw that in here real quick while I was thinking about it. And it's something I'd also like to mention about the new iPhone 17 Pros is they did end up switching back to aluminum for the exterior design, which I really don't know if I'm a big fan of. I've always liked the stainless steel and the titanium on the Pro iPhones just because it felt a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more premium, and just more durable than aluminum. But they switched back to an aluminum case for the new iPhones, mostly for thermal performance, to improve the thermal heat dissipation away from the chip, which I think is a good thing. That's a positive trait, and I'm glad Apple's kind of putting effort into that on the Pro phones. But I still do think that this 15 Pro both looks better than the new models, and it just feels a little bit more premium, if I'm honest. Now, I haven't actually held the new phones in my hand, but that's just how I feel right now. So there you have it. I think what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to go over to the battery. Now, this phone's still on the original battery. I haven't changed it or anything, and I do use my phone quite a bit, especially at work. If we go down here to battery usage, you can see that I tend to use almost 2 cycles a day sometimes, doing like navigation and other things at my job. So this phone does get used quite a bit. But if we go back into the battery settings and go to the health, you can see that after 2 years, I'm at 89% maximum capacity, and I have 551 charge cycles. So it's aging about how it should. These iPhone batteries, starting with the 15 and up, are actually rated for 1,000 cycles to 80%, and I'm pretty much right there. So, another 9-10%, I'll be at 80% capacity and probably 1,000 cycles. So I'm going to run it out as long as I can. I mean, obviously, once the battery doesn't meet my needs anymore, I will probably get it swapped out. But for right now, it's doing just fine, and I'm not away from a charger for too long anyhow. And I also have had the 80 to 90% charge limit enabled ever since I got this phone, and I just recently bumped it back up to 100%, so it's pretty much like I got that 10% capacity back without noticing it. So there you have it. Another thing that has influenced me and actually did kind of tempt me to upgrade to the new 17s is the storage. So I have a 256 gig model here. That's all I've had ever since I bought, I believe, the iPhone 8, I think was the first one that had 256 for me. But I was able to, offload some photos that I had on my phone. I had about 55 or 58 gigabytes of photos, so I unloaded about 27 gigs worth of photos, and now I have 80 gigs free. I was down to about 40, and I was getting a little nervous, but it was a lot cheaper to do that than buy a new phone, especially because I have other expenses now, like a mortgage and other things that I have to worry about, rather than buying $1,300 phones. So that's pretty much it. That's all I really have to talk about with this phone, other than, like I said, this phone has been a great companion for me, like I said, through some significant life changes that I've had happen in the past couple of years, and it's never really let me down, and it still does everything that I expect it to do to this day. Another thing that was tempting me to upgrade to the 17s were the camera improvements, because all 3 cameras on the back are 48 megapixels now. But you know, it is what it is. The ultra wide and the telephoto cameras on this phone aren't bad. They're just, you know, obviously they're 12 megapixels, so there is a little bit of a quality difference between the main sensor, which I believe is this one. So that is a concern, but I'm able to live with it, and I've watched a lot of reviews of the 17 Pro and stuff like that, and it didn't seem to be that massive of a difference, especially in daytime. So overall, I'm still happy with it, and like I mentioned a few seconds ago, I'm just overall really happy with this phone yet. I'm going to keep it for probably another year, maybe 2, maybe 3, even if I'm feeling, you know, ambitious. I don't see why not. I mean, I know people that still have iPhone 11s, and they're still using them to this day, so it's not impossible. But there you have it. That's about it. Like I said, I love this phone. I've been very happy with it, and I intend to keep it for a little bit longer. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.